Life on the streets wasn't something I ever planned for. It's a tough world out there, with every day feeling like a battle. Hunger gnaws at your belly. The cold seeps into your bones, and people pass by without a second glance. It's lonely and harsh, but it's the life I found myself living. One scorching afternoon, I sat leaning against a dumpster behind Chez Cuisine, a greasy spoon diner in downtown Los Angeles. I was lost in a tattered paperback, trying to escape my reality for just a little while. The sounds of sizzling burgers on the grill and the clang of pots and pans were oddly comforting, taking me back to a time when I had a home and a family. Suddenly, the back door of the diner swung open, and a waitress named Emily stepped out. She looked frazzled, with her apron strings trailing behind her, and she was carrying a container of food. She spotted me and paused for a moment. "Hey, you hungry?" she asked, her voice softening. I nodded, my throat dry. "Yes, Mom." She walked over and handed me the container. "Here, compliments of the owner. Just don't tell anyone, okay? We could get in trouble for this." I took the container from her, my hands shaking with gratitude. "Thank you so much. Really, thank you." Emily gave me a small, kind smile. "No problem. Just take care of yourself, okay?" As she turned to go back inside, another homeless man, Michael, appeared from the shadows. He looked at the container in my hands with hungry eyes. I opened the lid to see a generous portion of meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy. Without hesitation, I scooped out half onto a piece of cardboard and handed it to him. "Here, Michael, you can have some," I said. Michael's eyes lit up as he took the food. "Thanks, William. I really appreciate it." We sat there, side by side, eating in silence. The food was warm and filling, a rare treat for us. Just as we were finishing up, I noticed the owner, Veronica, watching us from the window. She had a fiery personality and a big red bouffant hairdo that made her stand out. I expected her to be angry, but instead, she looked thoughtful. Emily reappeared, and Veronica joined her outside. Veronica's voice was loud and clear as she spoke. "Emily, take that container of meatloaf scraps to the nice gentleman outside, would you, dear?" Emily blinked in surprise. "Sure thing, thee." Veronica sighed as she watched us. It's such a shame when good people fall on hard times through no fault of their own. I looked up, catching Veronica's eye. "Thank you, ma'am. This means a lot." Veronica nodded slightly. "Just make sure you don't go hungry tonight. We all need a little help sometimes." Michael and I finished our meal and huddled together on a park bench nearby. "Man, I'd kill for a cold beer to wash this down," Michael said, wiping his mouth on his sleeve. I shook my head. "I don't understand how you can live on the streets and still think about drinking. Don't you want to get off the streets?" Michael shrugged. "What's it to you? We all ended up here for different reasons." I fell silent, my mind drifting back to the life I once had. I had a beautiful wife, Tanya, and a precious baby daughter, Sophia. Everything fell apart when Nathan Caldwell, my wealthy former classmate, set his sights on Tanya. Despite my desperate attempts to save my marriage, Tanya left me for Nathan, taking Sophia with her. My world crumbled, and I turned to drinking for comfort until I ended up here, on the streets. Michael's voice snapped me back to the present. "Hey man, you gonna eat that?" I handed him the remaining scraps. "No, go ahead. I'm done." As I lay awake that night, I couldn't shake the guilt of not doing more. When morning came, I decided to take action. I found my way back to the diner, the purse Michael had found tucked under my jacket. I knocked on the back door, and Veronica answered, her bouffant slightly askew. "Oh, it's you again. What do you want, hun?" she asked. I held out the purse. "My friend found this yesterday. I thought it might belong to you." Her eyes widened as she took the purse and rifled through its contents. "Oh, thank heavens. This has all my cash for the weekly bank drop and so many important documents." "Thank you." I nodded, feeling shy. Just glad I could return it. Veronica's face softened. Well then, at least let me buy you a hot meal inside. It's the least I could do. I hesitated, but the thought of a hot meal was too tempting to refuse. Okay, thank you. As we walked inside, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this simple act of kindness was the start of something better. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Michael's excited voice. Hey, William, look what I found. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes and saw Michael standing over me, holding an expensive-looking leather purse. His grin stretched from ear to ear, and he was practically bouncing with excitement. Where did you get that? I asked, sitting up and squinting at the purse. Found it on a bench over on 4th Street. No name attached, so finders keepers. Michael said, his eyes gleaming. I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. Michael, you can't just take things that don't belong to you. What if someone is missing this? He glared at me, his grin vanishing. What's it to you, William? This is the real world. You gotta take what you can get. I shook my head. No, it's not right. We should at least try to find the owner. Michael's expression darkened, and he raised a fist menacingly. Don't push me, William. Another word, and I'll have to bust you up. I backed down, fear flashing in my eyes. As much as I disagreed with Michael's behavior, going toe-to-toe with an aggressive man twice my size never ended well. That night, I lay awake, the guilt gnawing at me like a hungry rat. I knew I had to do something. Early the next morning, I gathered my courage and headed to Chez Cuisine with the purse tucked under my tattered jacket. I knocked timidly on the back door, and it swung open to reveal Veronica, her beaufort slightly askew. Oh, it's you again, she said, eyeing me wearily. What do you want, hun? I extended the purse with a trembling hand. My friend found this yesterday. I thought you might be the owner. Her eyes widened in relief as she snatched the handbag and rifled through its contents. Oh, thank heavens. This has all my cash for the weekly bank drop, not to mention so many important documents. Thank you. No need. I mumbled shyly, just glad I could return it. Veronica's face softened into a warm smile. Well then, at least let me buy you a hot meal inside. It's the least I could do. I hesitated, but the thought of a hot meal was too tempting to refuse. Okay, thank you. As we walked inside, Veronica led me to a cozy booth by the kitchen. The smells of fresh coffee and syrupy pancakes filled the air, making my stomach rumble loudly. Veronica noticed and chuckled. Order up anything you'd like, honey, she said warmly. In fact, start by telling me a little about yourself over some coffee while you decide. As I cradled the steaming mug she placed in front of me, I felt the floodgates open. I told her everything, my failed marriage, my heartbreak over losing my wife Tanya to my wealthy former classmate Nathan, and the loss of my precious baby daughter Sophia. Veronica listened intently, her eyes shining with empathy. Oh, you poor dear, she said, her voice trembling. Nobody should have to go through that kind of loss and betrayal. I want to help you, William. I looked at her in surprise. You do that for me. After all, I've been accepting your kindness. She nodded firmly. Yes, it's decided then. I'm closing up the restaurant for a few weeks to visit my sister in Tulsa. I'll put you up in that storage room out back, and you can earn your keep sprucing up the grounds while I'm gone. I was stunned into silence, my mouth hanging open. I didn't know what to say. Thank you seems so inadequate. Veronica waved a dismissive hand. Just do a good job, and we'll call it even. Now, eat up. You're going to need your strength. I nodded, feeling the warmth spread through my chest. For the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this simple act of returning the purse was the start of something better. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. I moved into the small storage room behind Chez Cuisine. It wasn't much, just a cot, a chair, and a tiny window. But it was more than I'd had in years. Most importantly, it was a place where I could start rebuilding my life. Veronica had given me a list of tasks to complete while she was away. She wanted the grounds to look fresh and inviting. I attacked the work with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in a long time. Each day, I trimmed hedges, planted flowers, and laid fresh mulch. The physical labor was exhausting but satisfying. One afternoon, Emily came out to check on me. She was carrying a glass of cold lemonade, her smile as bright as the sun overhead. "Hey, William, how's it going out here?" she asked, handing me the lemonade. I wiped the sweat from my brow and took the glass gratefully. "It's going well. Just trying to make Miss Veronica proud." Emily looked around, her eyes wide with amazement. "You've done a fantastic job. The place looks so much better already." I felt a flush of pride at her words. "Thanks, Emily. I appreciate that." As the days turned into weeks, I continued to transform the restaurant's exterior. I added colorful flower beds, created neat pathways, and even built a small wooden trellis covered in climbing vines. The once run-down exterior was now a cheerful and welcoming entrance. One evening, as I was putting away my tools, Emily approached me again. This time, she had a thoughtful look on her face. "William, can I ask you something?" she said, her voice hesitant. "Sure, Emily. What's on your mind?" She sat down on a nearby bench and looked at me with concern. "What are you going to do after Veronica comes back? Do you have any plans?" I sighed, sitting down beside her. "Honestly, I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm just taking it one day at a time." Emily nodded, her eyes kind. "Well, I think you should stick around. You've got a real talent for this kind of work. Maybe you could turn it into something more permanent." Her words gave me pause. Could I really build a new life out of this? It was a daunting thought, but the idea of having a purpose again was appealing. "I'll think about it, Emily. Thanks for believing in me," I said, giving her a grateful smile. The day Veronica was due to return, I woke up early, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. I had one last task to complete: redecorating the interior of the diner. I wanted it to reflect the same rustic, homey vibe I'd created outside. I sanded and restained the wooden tables and chairs, hung up vintage signs, and crafted simple centerpieces from wildflowers and burlap. By the time I was finished, the place looked warm and inviting. As I was straightening my newly donated clothes, I heard a car door slam outside. My heart raced as Veronica's voice echoed through the diner. "William, you here, dear?" I stepped out from the kitchen, my hands trembling. Veronica stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with surprise. "Oh my, William, this place looks amazing," she exclaimed, taking in every detail. I swallowed hard, feeling a lump in my throat. "Welcome back, Miss Veronica. I hope you like what I've done with the place." She walked around, her eyes shining with tears. "Like it? I love it. You've done an incredible job." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. "Thank you, ma'am. Just glad I could help out and repay your kindness." Veronica turned to me, a thoughtful look on her face. "You know, I have a friend who owns a company managing all sorts of venues and event spaces. Let me make a call and see if I can get you an audience with Andrew. Your talents shouldn't be wasted here." I was stunned. "You'd do that for me?" She nodded firmly. "Absolutely. You've earned it, William." As Veronica made the call, I couldn't help but feel a sense of hope and excitement. This was my chance at redemption, a chance to rebuild my life, and I was determined to make the most of it. When Veronica's friend Andrew came to visit Chez Cuisine, I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach. Andrew managed several high-end venues and event spaces, and I was nervous about meeting him. Veronica introduced us, her eyes full of pride. "Andrew, this is William. He's the one who transformed this place." Andrew extended his hand with a warm smile. "Nice to meet you, William. I've heard a lot about your work." "Thank you, sir. It's nice to meet you too," I replied, shaking his hand firmly. Andrew walked around the diner, taking in every detail. He examined the flower beds, the trellises, and the rustic interior. Finally, he turned to Veronica and me. "This is impressive," Andrew said, nodding. "You've got an eye for design and detail, William. How would you like to work with us on some of our properties?" I was stunned. "You mean it? I'd love to." "Absolutely," Andrew replied. "We could use someone with your talents. I think you'll fit right in." With that, my life took a new turn. Andrew hired me as a landscaper and decorator for his company's properties. It was a dream come true. I threw myself into the work, determined to prove myself and make the most of this opportunity. Over the next few months, I worked on various projects, each one more challenging and rewarding than the last. I transformed drab, uninspired spaces into beautiful, inviting areas. My confidence grew with each success, and I started to see a future I hadn't dared to dream of before. One afternoon, while I was working on a rooftop garden for a chic downtown venue, Andrew stopped by to check on my progress. He looked around, a satisfied smile on his face. "You've outdone yourself again, William. This place looks fantastic." "Thanks, Andrew," I said, wiping the sweat from my brow. "I'm glad you like it." Andrew nodded, looking thoughtful. "You know, I think it's time we talked about your future with the company. You've proven yourself to be an invaluable asset." I looked at him, my heart racing. "What do you mean?" "I mean, how would you feel about leading your own team? We've got more projects coming in, and we need someone who can take charge and deliver results like you have." Andrew explained. I was floored. "I'd be honored, Andrew. I'll do my best to live up to your expectations." "I have no doubt you will," Andrew said, clapping me on the back. "We'll talk more about it soon. Keep up the great work." As Andrew left, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. This transformation wasn't just about the spaces I worked on. It was about me too. I was rebuilding my life, one project at a time. One evening, after a long day's work, I visited Chez Cuisine to catch up with Veronica. She greeted me with a warm hug, her eyes sparkling with happiness. "William, it's so good to see you. How's everything going?" "It's going great, Veronica. Andrew's given me more responsibilities, and I might even get to lead my own team soon," I said, unable to hide my excitement. Veronica beamed. "I knew you had it in you. I'm so proud of you, William." "Thank you, Veronica. I couldn't have done it without your kindness and support," I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. "You've earned every bit of it," she said, squeezing my hand. "You've come a long way, and I'm sure there's even more success ahead for you." As I left the diner that night, I felt a sense of contentment and hope. My journey was far from over, but I knew I was on the right path. The transformation wasn't just about the physical changes I made to spaces. It was about the personal growth and redemption I found along the way. The day Veronica was due to return from her trip, I woke up early, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. I wanted everything to be perfect for her. I spent the morning giving the diner one last thorough cleaning, making sure every detail was just right. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows, I heard a car pull up outside. My heart raced as Veronica's voice echoed through the diner. "William, you here, dear?" I stepped out from the kitchen, my hands trembling slightly. Veronica stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with surprise. She looked around, taking in the transformed space. "Oh my, William, this place looks amazing," she exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine astonishment. I swallowed hard, feeling a lump in my throat. "Welcome back, Miss Veronica. I hope you like what I've done with the place." She walked around slowly, her eyes shining with tears. "Like it? I love it. You've done an incredible job. It's like a whole new diner." I felt a wave of relief and pride wash over me. "Thank you, ma'am. I just wanted to repay your kindness." Veronica turned to me, a thoughtful look on her face. "You know, I've been thinking. You have a real talent for this, William. It's more than just a job for you. It's a gift." I was taken aback by her words. "Thank you, Miss Veronica. That means a lot coming from you." She nodded, her eyes sparkling. I have a friend who manages properties all over town. I've already spoken to him about you. He's very interested in seeing your work." My heart skipped a beat. "You mean it? I'd love to meet him." "Absolutely," Veronica said with a smile. "You deserve this opportunity. Let me give him a call and set something up." While she made the call, I took a moment to reflect on how far I'd come. From living on the streets to transforming this diner, and now a chance to work on even bigger projects. It all felt like a dream. A few days later, I found myself meeting Andrew, Veronica's friend. He was a tall, confident man with a warm smile. We shook hands, and he walked around the diner, inspecting every detail. "This is impressive, William," Andrew said, nodding appreciatively. "You've got an eye for detail and a real passion for this work. I'd like to offer you a position with our company." I was stunned. "Thank you, sir. I'd be honored." Andrew smiled. "Great. We've got several projects lined up, and I'm excited to see what you can do." As we finalized the details, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. This was a new beginning for me, a chance to rebuild my life and prove to myself that I was capable of great things. That evening, I returned to Chez Cuisine to share the good news with Veronica. She greeted me with a warm hug, her eyes twinkling with happiness. "William, I'm so proud of you," she said, beaming. "I knew you had it in you." "Thank you, Veronica. I couldn't have done it without you," I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. "You gave me a chance when no one else would." "You earned it, William," she said, squeezing my hand. "This is just the beginning for you. I know you're going to do amazing things." As I left the diner that night, I felt a sense of contentment and hope. I had come a long way from those dark days on the streets, and I knew that with hard work and determination, the future held endless possibilities. The warm welcome I received from Veronica and the new opportunities ahead filled me with gratitude and excitement for the journey to come. The weeks following my meeting with Andrew were a whirlwind of activity and excitement. I had officially joined his company as a landscaper and decorator, and my first project was a rooftop garden for a chic downtown venue. It was a huge opportunity, and I was determined to make the most of it. One sunny afternoon, as I was arranging a series of potted plants along the edge of the rooftop, Andrew showed up to check on my progress. He was always well-dressed, his confident presence putting everyone at ease. "William, this is looking fantastic," Andrew said, walking over to inspect my work. "Thanks, Andrew," I replied, wiping the sweat from my forehead. "I'm just trying to make sure everything is perfect." Andrew nodded, a smile playing on his lips. "You've got a real talent, William. I'm glad you're on our team. How are you finding everything?" "Settling in okay." I looked around at the vibrant greenery and the city skyline beyond. It's been amazing. I never imagined I'd have an opportunity like this. Thank you for believing in me." Andrew clapped me on the back. "You've earned it, William. Keep up the great work, and there will be plenty more opportunities coming your way." As he left, I felt a surge of pride and determination. I spent the next few hours fine-tuning the arrangements, making sure every plant was in just the right spot. When the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the city, I stood back and admired my work. The rooftop garden was a lush, peaceful oasis amidst the urban hustle and bustle. Later that evening, I visited Chez Cuisine to catch up with Veronica. The diner was bustling with customers, the delicious smell of cooking filling the air. Veronica spotted me and waved me over, her smile as bright as ever. "William, how's the new job treating you?" she asked, pulling me into a warm hug. "It's going great," I said, grinning. "I just finished my first big project, a rooftop garden downtown." Andrew seemed really pleased with it. Veronica's eyes sparkled with pride. "I knew you'd do well. You've got the talent and the heart for this work." "Thanks, Veronica. I couldn't have done it without your support," I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. She patted my hand. "You're making your own way now, William. I'm just happy to see you thriving." Just then, Emily came over, balancing a tray of drinks. "Hey, William. Heard you're doing some amazing work. Congrats on the new gig." "Thanks, Emily," I said, smiling. "It's been a lot of hard work, but it's worth it." Emily nodded. "You've earned it. And you know, the place looks even better with all those flowers you planted. Customers have been complimenting it nonstop." I felt a warm glow of satisfaction. "That's great to hear. I'm glad people are enjoying it." As the evening went on, we shared stories and laughter, the camaraderie reminding me how far I'd come. The transformation wasn't just about my surroundings. It was about me reclaiming my life and finding my place in the world. One morning, a few weeks later, Andrew called me into his office. I walked in, feeling a mix of curiosity and anticipation. "William, have a seat," Andrew said, motioning to the chair across from his desk. "I have some exciting news." I sat down, my heart pounding. "What is it, Andrew?" He leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. "We've got a new project coming up, a large-scale renovation of a historic property. It's a huge undertaking, and I want you to lead the team." I was stunned. "Me? Lead the team? Are you sure?" Andrew smiled. "Absolutely. You've proven yourself with your work, and I believe you're ready for this. What do you say?" I took a deep breath, feeling a surge of excitement and responsibility. "I'd be honored, Andrew. Thank you for this opportunity." As I left his office, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how much my life had changed. From living on the streets to leading a major project, it was more than I ever dreamed possible. This new beginning was a testament to the power of hard work, kindness, and believing in oneself. That evening, I visited Chez Cuisine to share the news with Veronica and Emily. They were both thrilled, their excitement mirroring my own. "William, that's incredible," Veronica exclaimed, hugging me tightly. "I knew you had it in you." "Congrats, William," Emily added, her smile wide. "You're going to do amazing things." As I sat there, surrounded by friends who had become like family, I realized that this new beginning was just the start. With each new project, I was not only building beautiful spaces, but also a brighter future for myself. And I couldn't wait to see where this journey would take me next. 2 years later, my life had transformed in ways I could never have imagined. I had gone from living on the streets to leading major renovation projects. My company, Beautiful Beginnings Landscaping, had gained a reputation for turning neglected spaces into beautiful, inviting areas. But despite all my success, there was still a part of me that felt incomplete. One sunny afternoon, I sat in my office, looking at a photograph of my daughter Sophia. She was just a baby when I last saw her, and I wondered what she looked like now, all grown up. With newfound stability and confidence, I decided it was time to find her and reconnect. After some searching, I discovered that Tanya and Sophia were still living in my tiny hometown of Beardsley, Ohio. Nathan had left them years ago, and they had fallen on hard times. I took a deep breath and made arrangements to visit them. When I arrived in Beardsley, my heart pounded with nerves. The town looked much the same, with its old brick buildings and quiet streets. I found Tanya's address and drove up to a modest house that had seen better days. Clutching a bouquet of daffodils, I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. The door creaked open, and Tanya stood there, her eyes widening in shock. Despite the years and hardships, she was still as beautiful as I remembered. "Will, is that you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I swallowed hard, feeling a lump in my throat. "Yes, Tanya, it's me. I've come to see you and Sophia." Before she could respond, a young woman appeared behind her, her brow furrowed in confusion. My heart clenched. It was Sophia, all grown up. She had Tanya's eyes and my smile. "Mom, who is this?" Sophia asked, looking between us. Tanya blinked back tears, finally finding her voice. "Sophia, this is your father." Sophia's eyes widened, and she took a step back. "Dad." I nodded, tears welling up in my eyes. Yes, sweetheart, it's me. I've missed you so much. Tanya stepped aside, allowing me to enter. We sat down in the living room, the air heavy with emotion. Sophia sat across from me, her eyes filled with questions. Why did you come back now? She asked, her voice tinged with both curiosity and pain. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. I've spent the last few years rebuilding my life. I wanted to find you both sooner, but I needed to make sure I could be the father you deserved. I'm so sorry for everything that happened. Sophia looked down, her expression softening. I don't remember much from when I was little, but I always wondered about you. Mom told me some things, but I always felt like a part of me was missing. Tanya reached over and took my hand, her eyes filled with understanding. We've all been through so much, Will. But the fact that you're here now means a lot. We can start fresh as a family. The three of us talked for hours, sharing stories and catching up on lost time. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of tears and laughter, but it was the beginning of a new chapter for all of us. With my business thriving, I was able to support Tanya and Sophia in ways I couldn't before. Tanya joined my company's design branch, using her artistic talents to help create beautiful spaces. Sophia, hesitant at first, gradually warmed up to me. She started working with Veronica, learning the ins and outs of running a restaurant. Veronica took her under her wing, and Sophia began to dream of opening her own place someday. 2 years after our reunion, we celebrated the grand opening of Chez Sophia's, a restaurant that Sophia had poured her heart and soul into. The sunny garden patio was filled with friends and family, all there to support her. As I stood there, watching Sophia greet her guests with a radiant smile, I felt a deep sense of pride and fulfillment. My journey had come full circle, from the streets to a successful business owner, from a lost father to a proud parent. Just then, a familiar figure ambled up to the entrance, squinting in the bright sunlight. It was Michael, looking healthier and more put together than I'd ever seen him. "Well, I'll be, if it isn't my old buddy William," Michael exclaimed with a toothy grin, pulling me into a bone-crushing hug. "I should have known you'd make something of yourself eventually." I chuckled, patting his back fondly. "Michael, it's good to see you. What have you been up to?" Michael smiled proudly. "After you made it big, I realized I had to get my act together too. Been sober for a year now, working as a groundskeeper at a place very near and dear to both our hearts." My jaw dropped. "No way. You're working at Chez Cuisine." Michael nodded. "Yep. Veronica gave me a chance, just like she did for you." As Sophia called everyone inside for the grand opening celebrations, I lingered for a moment, looking up at the sky. I whispered a silent thank you to whatever higher power had guided me through this unbelievable journey. From rags to riches, from despair to redemption, my life had come full circle. With a content smile, I joined my family and friends, ready to embrace the bright future ahead.